What could never is your mind? All the scars, let's leave them behind. We'll light the world up now, there's fire in your eyes. Through the darkness into the night.
Hello and welcome to this penultimate 6th week of the Ember Scorch League. Today we have White Lotus Clover versus Stun Gaming Eclipse. I'm Kai. I will be casting tonight alongside my co-host Relucent. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How is everybody else? I
Hopefully
hope everyone is
also
well.
fine. Exactly. Okay, so we are going into the second to last week of this league before playoffs, and we have a team that's in the middle of the standings, 2-2, fighting to push into that upper echelon of the bracket. And we have a team that is still looking for their first win of the season. However, because of the smaller size of the league, one of the great things about these lower teams in the bracket matches, and even near the end of the season, is that all of these teams will be in the playoffs. As a result, these games still matter for teams to find their footing and find a style play that they can really hone in and excel in, and that can maybe lead to some dark horse surprises when we reach playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. Some really exciting stuff here tonight, especially because they're wanting that first win on the board. I can only imagine that this is going to be a tough fight for them to win. It'll be exciting to see kind of the matchup of, an evenly set team against a team that is, just hungry to get one on the board there.
Hungry is exactly right. That's where you want to be. You want to be able to see that. Listen, you're already 0-4. You're not going to be. There's no chance that you reach the top seed in the playoffs. So what I want to see, I want you to see you do something crazy. I want to see you do something crazy, and I want to see it work as we enter the draft of the first game of this best of 3 series. So White Lotus Clover is on blue side, so they do have that first pick advantage. We'll see what they decide to do with it. So far in this league, some of the highest priority champions have actually been some of these mid lane, more controlling mages, as opposed to many of the other leagues where you usually see the more bruiser, early game centric junglers such as Jarvan,
Uh huh.
Wukong, get prioritized. I guess early game is not the right call. These strong team fighting junglers. As a result, we'll get to see if what style of draft we have here today. What do you like to see in a draft? What are you looking for?
I mean, definitely the Jinx ban really cut my losses right away. I definitely like to see those scaling ADCs, and a Kali ban. Those burst mages are very powerful. Interesting to see that, and we're gonna see a Wukong ban, but I can only imagine is just the targeted jungle ban of the century for them, as well as a Camille ban coming out. And yeah, I mean they're banning these burst mages. LeBlanc going off the board. I mean, mid lane is one of the most powerful lanes right now.
Definitely is. What I'm interested in about these mid lane bans is specifically what like Lotus Clover banning Akali and Diana. This may be more a response to some of the previous games they've seen Stun Gaming play earlier this split, or a potential sign that they may have an answer because the mid laner of Stun Gaming Eclipse has an RE fixation, so to put it. That's their
I
comfort
see.
champion. As a result, the fact that they didn't ban it either or suggests to me that they think they might be able to deal with it. And a Maokai first pick
Uh huh.
certainly is a good pick in locking down these more mobile flanking assassin mages.
Yeah, I mean, Ari is definitely one of those champions that you can for sure lock down um, with an assassin or Galio, you know. But we're going to see an Ash picked first, which is like an ADC pick first is really interesting and brave. I feel like I don't really see ADCs picked first. I feel like bot lane is one of the last picks. The bot and support are mid to last in terms of drafts because oftentimes those are your carries. Those are kind of what can define the game, I feel like, in the late game.
For sure, definitely for supports who have the really that potential to fully dominate that lane. However, the nature of ADCs as a relatively interchangeable role does lead to see ADC handshakes aren't the most uncommon thing in the world. Especially a champion like Ashe is one that can be relatively safe to pick. You are threatening you are threatening that you are mobile, so you are at risk of exactly things like the jarring, which they're going to pair alongside it because it's something that can
Hmm.
just dash onto you and cataclysm you. Suddenly you're in a cage. There's no way out if your flash is burnt. However, Ashe can itemize more into damage and be that damage carry you were talking about. However, the nice thing about Ashe is if you start to fall behind in lane, you can always just fall back on being a slow and stun bot for your team. You have the vision
Hmm.
from the Hawkshot and all these additional pieces of utility in your kit that make you really beneficial as a supporting tool as well. And we will see a handshake going off here, Zeri. So what I'm trying to puzzle out here is where that Maokai is going, because it could be a Maokai jungle, it could also be a Maokai support.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not
It could
sure that's exactly
also,
what you usually like to pair of Zeri though, right? You usually think of like the Yumis and whatnot.
yeah. Honestly, Maokai could definitely just be there for bush control in the support lane. Um, I don't love Maokai jungle in this state of the meta. I feel like I don't see that too often, but maybe, one thing about League of Legends is sometimes it's not about the meta, sometimes it's just about the skill. So if you're just a really good Maokai player, like I guess, play that. But we're gonna see Cassandra come out, so that Maokai is not gonna be top lane, and we're gonna see a Seraphine.
Ooh, Seraphine Ashe, classic bot lane power combo here. So, of course, the classic interaction is that the fact that Ashe has the permasoul and the frost shots, and of course that volley, means that
Mhm.
you're basically always slowed when you're laying against a Seraphine, which means a Seraphine just gets the free root
Yeah,
off of
she's
their
guaranteed that
there's
route. Yeah.
exactly. So Seraphine gets a save for passive for more damaging ability, and it become really oppressive to lane against, especially against something like a Zeri who has a relatively short range as far as AC goes. They really could
Uh-huh.
struggle here in the early game, especially when you think of the fact that Jarvan is a jungler that can absolutely um, punish you if you're down to 50-30% HP early on in the game. That being said, Zeri does have the ability to just completely jump out of the wall that Jarvan throws up. So once you
Yeah.
get to 6, you don't really have that lockdown potential, but you still have the absolute 100-0 Jarvan flagging, dashing, knocking up Seraphine CCs them, and suddenly you have a dead ADC on the side of
Yeah.
White Lotus. We'll have to see what their counter is. Here is the Ari ban coming in. That's talking about in the second round of bans. It did. Maybe they just knew they could hold on to it.
Yeah. I mean, after a lot of these picks coming out, they only have to prioritize 2 more lanes. So I mean, getting it out of the way early, I guess, just guarantees them maybe a first map. If we see some top lane and support bans as well. Um, yeah. I mean, really interesting draft composition for sure coming from White Lotus, the Cassante Maokai, and Zeri in the bot lane. Really just gonna have to work on spacing, cooldown management, because she has a lot of potential for a lot of burst if a gank is to come through. But managing their health before that, avoiding poke and whatnot before that gank is going to be integral to surviving that bot lane early game. And we're going to see a Camille pick
Yeah,
come
okay.
out.
I'm starting to get the identity of these teams. So Stun Gaming's draft is looking like a very strong pick comp, right? You've got tools like the Ashe, the Ashe Enchanted Crystal Arrow, the Camille hook shot into Hextech Ultimatum, the Jarvan Cataclysm, even the Seraphine Encore, right? All these ultimates are really powerful at
Uh-huh.
locking someone down
Yeah,
and
you could say they're
fully
stunned gaming, I guess.
exactly. You could say there's Stun Game, and that's why they banned the Diana, right? So that the Eclipse can't be a part of it. As for the side of White Lotus Clover, you have very strong engage tools, right? Maokai, Cassandra, and Zeri, all these champions that can really profit from a messy all-in dive composition. So how I would predict this sort of game panning out in the team fights is Lotus Clover should have the edge if they're able to kind of not all at once, because although then you get caught by a Seraphine ult, right? But kind of dive in synchronicity from multiple angles, perhaps. And if you're able to break out into a messy melee, you should have the edge. Yes, Silas also fits in great with that sort of composition.
Oh yeah.
Meanwhile, Stun Gaming Eclipse wants to win the fight before the fight happens. Lock down a crucial member like the Zeri, the Milio, those are who you're really looking for. Lock them out, take them out, and then force a 5v4, and you should really be in a good spot.
Is it Emilio? I can't quite remember, but I think that might have been a misclick.
The Ambessa was a misclick. The Milia should be the
Oh,
right
okay.
call, hopefully.
Okay.
Um,
But
so
yeah, I mean Melio is really great because that ult is a cleanse, so all the stunned gaming that we're seeing could be integral. Like they really want to pick out that Melio and the Silas in the beginning, in my opinion, because that will kind of ruin a lot of their synchronized CC chains that they want. So yeah, I mean Emilio is a really great pick as long as that's as well with that Silas. I'm surprised we didn't see a Silas ban in predictions of like what the enemy team would pick that would be, you know, bad for them. So we're getting into the game here. I'm excited
Yeah.
to see what transpires on the Rift.
Game 1, always very excited. Yeah, for sure. Silas definitely lots of high priority ultimates that champion can steal this game. In addition, I want to see Stun Game Eclipse pull off that big wombo combo just once. You know, the Cataclysm, the Hextech Ultimatum, the ultimate from Aurora, all these tools just completely locking someone out of the game would be really fun to see. But that's for a later stage of the game. For now, we're into laning, which means that we are going to be left with a slower pace, more individual skill matchups at the moment, as we should expect Silas to not get too much done these first early levels. That's just kind of the trade-off of playing a melee champion, but they're going to dive right in. Oh, crucially, the Abscon Abduct lands on a minion, which means Danny's just going to have to walk their way out of this. Toke Life fully being able to poke them down, which is a really bad miss, right? You can imagine that Duck lands, you can land a lot of damage and just walk away a lot safer. But note as well, Danny has Ignite, 2 Toke Life or Light's TP, so you can kind of expect they will be looking for these crazy trades, even when you might not expect them to, as that melee to range matchup.
Yeah, I mean, even though he is melee, he does got that stun, so he's kind of, I would say, similar to a Kali, where you want to hit those cooldowns, you want to manage them, and if you do, you're rewarded. But if you miss them, you can be heavily punished.
That's big combo landing here
trade.
from Cataclysm. Sneaky is able to walk the way up, gets a bit of healing there from the Camille W, and is able to stabilize lane sit a bit. So the important thing to remember about the Camille Cassante matchup is that Cassante builds defensive, because that's what he gives him offensive stats as well. And Camille gets this massive true damage spike on her Q2, right? So that's what Camille's looking for to win trades. And meanwhile, Cassante wins most fights that go long, where they're able to abuse their shorter cooldowns over the Camille's. And of course, Camille always has the ability to just hook shot their way out of a problem, so that's something you have to be aware of as well. We see both junglers are pathing in opposite directions here, so Toge's name is going to be pathing down bot, while Xylism is going to be covering his top laner.
Oh,
Manages to make it out with the invisibility.
Wow.
Able to fully punish a melee champion who's down summoners, gets the passive proc,
Oh my.
and you see the thing about it, right? They're thinking, oh, I gotta go forward. But that probably is a mistake, right? Silas's cooldown should be coming off, rip, and you have the Ignite to be careful of. Here's Xylism, shouldn't be able to get too much done. And likewise, on the opposite of the map, you can see that White Lotus's bot lane is fully shoved up, so you can't expect their jungler to get too much done at the moment. We're seeing a bit of a linking setup, however. And it's going to be recall. Oh, first blood mid lane. And look at that. If you look at the meme, a huge wave crashing. That's going to be a ton of law school and experience for Toke Life, which is translating as you look at the 300 gold lead already for the Silas.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was definitely something I was expecting. Aurora is similar to Ari, not really being able to deal with the Silas if those cooldowns are punished. So we're going to see a replay here of what just occurred in that mid lane here. I mean, oh my, the Ignite off rip, and then the Electrocute proc. Beautiful work from Danny here, and getting out with just a little bit of HP. And I mean, once Aurora gets her power spike, though he will get very much punished if he isn't hitting his cooldowns correctly there. But until then, Silas is definitely a stronger champ earlier in the game. Let's see what's happening bot lane though.
Yeah, slim margins of error for sure, that mid-fight. Small trades happening here. You'll notice that most of the champions in this lane, with the exception of Emilio, are running out of mana. So if health bar is relatively high, without the intervention of a jungler, you can't really expect a 2v2 kill to happen unless someone severely mispositions. That being said, there is a bit of trading going on, as you can see at the moment. Currently, Gizmi is looking to flank around Toke Life, taking advantage of the fact that the summoner is down, isn't Fog of War, but will just back away. Not much to be done there. Slight CS lead building up for the side of Xylism, as Gizmi is sacrificing a bit of time to these clears. You see as Ash Seraphine, you can't kill here, realistically. They're under tower, you just don't have the mana to reliably damage them, especially because at this point of the game, one of your strongest damaging options is the Execute on Seraphine's double stack Q. However, we should enter a bit of a chill game state here. 15 seconds until Dragon, but you'll notice that both junglers are topside, so that signals that neither team really wants to prioritize. Oh, nice dodge there on the Pathmaker, and a bit of a punish. Cataclysm's going to try and walk it out here.
Wow.
Has a fully stacked cooldown on the Q3, but here is Xylism as well. They might look for a dive. Flashes in, lands the flag combo, and it is a quick kill, trading back the first kills of the game, 1-for-1 for the side of Sneaky. And that's a big pickup. That's going to, once again, both teams are converting well off of these kills. Lots of minions being lost to these deaths.
Yeah, for sure. And it definitely prioritizes Void Grubs, which, in my opinion, I think are one of the strongest objectives in the game right now. I'm totally okay with giving up a Dragon if it's for Void Grubs instead, because as we go into the mid to late game, Void Grubs are integral to, getting those towers, which in the end wins you the game.
That's really true. It's something that oftentimes players do seem to forget, but yeah, that's the changes in this season certainly as well, making that a little bit easier. The Petricite bursts that it builds up makes it a lot easier to get the side laning done. So we'll see a bit of vision control here as both teams are looking to fight over priority for the Dragon anyways. Monarch's going to walk up there, land the Scryer's Bloom, and spot out Xylism. That gives them really strong information, both on this side of the map, but also top side. Cataclysm can know he's not about to get repeat gank now that his teleport and flasher down, which should allow him to play up a little further up. Small trade's happening, however.
Wow.
Like getting dived once again by Danny. Tower shot lands, but it's still a massive trade. Goes in with these hijacked ultimate. Both Aurora ultimates being popped across the map. The Veil is certainly being crossed, but really nothing done from that. That's just basically just ultimate for ultimate, which is always an interesting thing with Sylas, right? Because it takes him longer to be able to steal your ultimate than it takes for you for it to come off cooldown for yourself. So as long as he doesn't get an opportunity to go and steal someone else's ultimate, you always have a window to punish. And speaking of ultimates, Hextech Protocol landing is shoved out. That's always a really fun interaction to see, right? The Cassandra has so much disruption that now goes all out, forced to flash away from Sneaky. But disrespect goes back in to try and land the tactical sweep and is punished.
You just don't win those against Cassandra. Any extended trades like that, you just don't win. I mean, I feel like Camille's best option there is to hit a few abilities and just walk away. I mean, even if you do hit your ult, I don't think you win extended trades with Cassandra, especially with so much CC. You can't even get an auto off. It's just not gonna work.
Yeah, especially we saw there one of the great interactions of that matchup, right? As Camille, if you ultimate before Cassandra uses his own all out, then he has the Pathmaker's well, it's creation is Q3, but really the Pathmaker's disruption ability to knock you out of your own ultimate, because your enemies can't leave your ultimate, but you can. And if you are knocked out of it, then your ultimate's canceled. You see also like Ziggs get to pull it off too, which is always a ton of fun to see. So either intentional or not, good matchup knowledge and punish from Cataclysm, leading to the second of the 3 kills of this game. Once again, the top lane, equalizing that top laner's KD 1-1.
Yeah, for sure. And we saw a Dark Seal buy from Danny. Just going to call attention to that. Bro was feeling confident after that first kill. And I have to say, from the damage coming from Electrocute, he can come out on top with a bunch of these trades. So it's definitely not a far-fetched idea to build that Dark Seal early. And yeah, I mean, red team getting the grubs here is pretty standard after that pick top lane. And mid lane coasting. CS is still looking okay despite the fact that they got killed early. So yeah, just WH management for mid lane, which can be tough in this meta.
Yeah, for sure. Though it's always worth noting, you're never happy to go even against a melee champion as a ranged one. You always want to be that 20-30 CS up that you expect to be able to, and you see that pressure that Danny created for himself there with the early kill, and also you saw he was kind of running the lane, forcing Toke to respond with their own ultimate. Means that they've had the pressure to go even, which is often a win for the melee champion in a great way. Honestly, you have to give them something. We see another lane gang being propositioned here by Xylism. We'll see if they're able to convert. So, oh yeah, misses the all out this time, which means that there should be called all out. Does allow them to dodge on this flag combo. The Cataclysm now lands. They have no further movement abilities to get them outside the wall. Lands for the combo and is almost able to get the kill in the 1v2, but Sneaky is able to just barely walk their way out of here. But here's Danny looking to potentially finish off the low HP. Camille flashes Cataclysms, and that is a top laner down as Toke is here. Moments too late. The mid lane tempo transitioning to a kill top lane.
Yeah, I mean, that was just mid lane wave management, being able to push that wave and gank. Just beautiful work from blue team to kind of clean up what was a sticky situation for our top laner Cataclysm there. It's funny that we have Cataclysm and Jarvan's Cataclysm.
And Stylus is Cataclysm.
And not to be confused with other Cataclysm. But it's
Yeah.
okay, guys. We'll get it figured out.
Three
But
Cataclysm
yeah,
that top lane play. You have to love
bot
it.
lane has been kind of a snooze fest this time, which I'm not complaining about. I enjoy, bot lanes that don't get too overzealous, don't get too greedy, because that can definitely define the course of the game if an ADC is fed early or a support is able to roam and just wreak havoc across the map.
For sure. I'd have to say, for my money, this snooze fest bot lane benefits White Lotus more. Ashe Seraphine is the lane with more pressure that you want to be doing things with them. However, White Lotus was still able to secure that first dragon, which we kind of glossed over, as well as the fact that Zeri is looking to be one of their primary damage options alongside Silas when we reach these late game team fights. So the fact that the Zeri has the space to free scale along this Milio champion, that'll be a potent a support buffing them later in the game. Enchanter's obviously always scale quite well. Is looking good for White Lotus for their ability to convert these late game team fights into 1 games.
For sure. It'll be interesting to see what the Seraphine builds here. We see that mana tier, but will it become the Diadem of Songs, or will it become the Seraphis Embrace?
Yeah, it's always fun. It could even go to both. we're in season what, 16 now? It's lots of options. Yeah, it's also I'm really enjoying the matchups this game. I feel like there's some 5D chess happening there, because in that top play you noticed that, like I was talking about the interaction between Camille ult and Cassante ult. Cassante ulted early to dodge the flag combo from Jarvan, which meant they no longer had the ability to ult out of the Cataclysm. So lots of actions and reactions in these champion abilities were really fun to watch in these 2v2 skirmishes. We'll have to see how it pans out when we get to the big 5v5s and 4v4s.
Yeah, definitely in the team fights, it'll be so curious to see what kind of picks happen, what kind of cooldowns are burned, especially as the Aurora. I like to think of her kind of like Assassin. What a lot of trades happening top lane as I'm speaking, though. A stun coming out, so much damage from Cataclysm. Gonna keep going back in, and the ult is not enough for Sneaky to do any damage, and that's gonna be another kill on Cataclysm's board.
Yeah, Cataclysm having a great game so far. You really don't want to have to use your ultimate there, right? That was a clear desperation from Sneaky, because you want to try and buffer it to avoid the damage, but didn't go through. Probably Dragon started. It looks like it is going to be an attempted contest by Sun Gaming, but the teleport in from Cataclysm taking advantage of that kill top lane is going to push them out. But there is a disconnect in here from Honeybee, the White Lotus support. But the game continues, and they secure the dragon nonetheless. So great for them.
I don't mind it, but I don't think the top lane TP was necessary. But of course, they were just there for insurance, and I guess I can't hate on that. But we could have also just gotten some plates top lane as well.
That's true, but you can never really know, right, how that fight might have gone out in the 4v4. As it stands, you're right, this is absolutely an opportunity for Steam to get back in the game. They were able to reset the winning tempo a little bit. They're still 1k gold behind, but overall, the gold is dead even on the board. So, so it's actually, with the slight bot lane lead generated by mostly these plate towers, it's I'm interested to see how these first big team fights play out, because we haven't had the opportunity to see one yet.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just gonna really all come down to cooldown management. It'll be integral for the support and our Silas to maintain, those cooldowns and make sure that they have stuff up in these major team fights. It's just so important, and we're seeing a good bit of damage come out from Zeri. I'm just itching. I'm itching for an objective to come up that we fight for, and I mean, I haven't seen a Maokai ult. And as I say that, it comes out here. Tokelife gonna just walk away from it, though. Nothing's gonna happen. And I guess he just wanted me to eat my words there.
Yeah, I think the Malakai's itching for action as much as we are. And that's really why we didn't want Cataclysm TP there. We didn't want them to back away. We wanted that 4v4 fight. As we speak, Cataclysm getting great trades here. The Frostmourne Gauntlet now completed means that even with the Trinity Force, Sneaky is just getting slapped around by these Dotofo strikes. It remains to be seen how this progresses once we get to late game side laning. Oh, engages onward footwork into Dotofo strikes into Pathmaker, walks out. They very happy with the trade. Get to dodge that the bonus shielding from the Camille's passive. Notably, Tull is here to cover, but Cataclysm is just so tricky at this point that
I
can't expect they're going to be able to get much done.
I mean, maybe a 3v1 We can sacrifice the Seraphine for some gold. I don't know.
Yeah, they're thinking about it. Getting some vision.
Oh, that unstoppable is just insane. The ult could come out. I mean, she's just tanking everything. And I mean, Cataclysm thinks he 1v3s this though. Not quite walking away under tower quite yet. But I'm just gonna walk away and go for Rift Herald. I like this from Stunned Gaming. I mean, there's really no point in forcing that issue when you can get an objective. Yep.
And you really like Cataclysm is not a target you can kill at the moment. The Cassandra is just too tanky, such a safe side laner. But I do understand the play a bit more as they transition to this Rift. They were able to not force Cataclysm to reset, which gives them the pressure to kind of ensure that objective. So if that was their play in mind, then it makes a lot of sense. As we see the first items coming through across the board, just the supports left to finish off their first purchase of the game, or first major purchase, I should say. Stylism is looking for a bit of an invade here, which should go unpunished, as Gizmy is just not quite there on the map. Enchanted Crystal Arrow lands onto the Seraphine, and they're going to fully engage upon them. The Duck misses, but the Twisted Advances are not necessary, but the Nature's Grasp does land and secure a nice pick on the support. 20 seconds down for Told, but I can't. But there's nothing quite up on the map. So a lot of big ultimates burnt. But I guess the flip side of there to be nothing to convert into means you aren't really going to be missing them in the next minute or so.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that in the next mid game, what we're wanting to see here is who has the tower first, whose tower falls first, because that will definitely define where we can pressure things and how we can prioritize objectives over towers here. So I'm very wary of this bot lane here. Ashe and Seraphine with their insane wave clear, it's so easy to pressure things. Cataclysm getting a pick top lane as I speak though. Maybe they can get this top lane tower as I say to get some pressure top lane to defer people from those big team fights. You know, that pressure is integral, and we're gonna get a replay to see what exactly Cataclysm cooked up for us here.
Okay, so they're nice and apart here, but the Defo Strikes is stacked. Does land into the all-out, and that is a Cassante combo for the ages, or no, sorry, into the Pathmaker, sorry, then all-outs. Yeah, nice clean Cassante gaming right there, leading to a good kill moments before the spawn of the third track in the game, which we should be seeing in, 30 seconds around now. So this would put White Lotus onto Soul Point, so I expect to see Cataclysm basing here to support the team, this time without needing to burn the ultimate. That first tower went down, just as you're saying, so they have the pressure. Oh, never mind, they're looking for an opportunity. Lightning Crash lands from Zeri. Cassante teleporting behind, but it just not quick enough in the channel, so they might be flash forward. Burns the flash, Encore lands, Jarvan jumping on in, has the Cataclysm, looking for a priority target. But the supporting champions of Malachi and Milio are just enough to force that the standstill, the stalemate, as both teams are forced to walk away with Crucial and Burn. Now Jarvan still has the Cataclysm, but the Lightning Crash is down for Zeri, which means that without a strong engagement with Cassante or Sylas, they're not likely, Monarch is unlikely to get much done in this team fight without getting jumped upon by a Jarvan. The dragon has been spaced, however, by all 5 members of White Lotus. Both solo laners of Stun Gaming not yet at the fight, or we're looking for a flank potentially. Togolite does have that beyond the wave ultimate. But Dragon is down to about half HP, teleport coming in.
Oh, the TP
it's going to be a flip, jumping in, Jarvan does land the steal. Ultra Shock Laser landing in, big across the veils coming in. Cataclysms, Exile Ultimatums. They completely lock down Monarch and shut them down. Meanwhile, across the Gold Freak landing on and winning the 1v1 against Danny, or against the team from there. Big damage coming in from Seraphine as they're just able to follow through and run down 4 for nothing, and a huge team fight win for Stun Gaming.
I mean, that TP, I think, really set the tone there. And I was sure that was going to go to White Lotus, but that last-minute TP, be able to get that flip and the Cataclysm coming out really just defined. And then they're going to go for a tower dive, but I don't think it's worth it for Honeybee quite yet. No flame to them, of course. I just don't think it's worth it. And Honeybee has so much CC that can deny a tower dive like that. So we're going to see the backs. I like this a lot. And we also denied that Soul Point Dragon, which gives them some more time to scale back here. Sneaky has been at a deficit since early game, I would have to say. And so they have to take everything they can get here. So getting that dragon, I think, was a really great way to reset the tempo and bring us a little bit more even.
It definitely feels the momentum has swung entirely. In fact, even White Lotus was up 2k gold, now they're down 2k gold because not only were they able to get the kill off of, or the dragon off of a clutch steal from Xylism, they had the Rift Herald, which they were able to crack into 2 whole towers in that bot lane. So that's a massive shift in gold for the side of Stun Gaming as they, as you mentioned, they base, they spend that money, and now they're on the maps much stronger than they were a minute ago.
For sure, and I'm excited to see what Sneaky does as they get these item spikes and Toke Life with one item on the board and a second on the way. I mean, no matter how far behind you are on Aurora, she just does so much burst damage. And we're seeing a lot of damage on this mid tower as well. It's looking like it's going to fall apart for White Lotus in this mid game if they don't do something quickly.
Yeah, for sure. Though I can see that they still have opportunities to win team fights. Like I mentioned earlier, that they were missing some crucial ultimates that they burnt trying to chase down Stun Gaming's bot lane. So it did mean that Monarch was basically able to do nothing other than get logged down with a double CC ultimate. So that could still be in their future. But as we see that Champion's Arrow lands into Encore, the pick comp happening, the beat drops land, Sun again, the cleanse from Emilio, not enough as they chain CC and completely 100 to 0 Honeybee. I mean, that was the intended target, I suppose. Nature's grappling, they're looking for more. Cassante is here to catch him up. Damage lands, support for support so far. Big Cataclysm, the entire members, White Lotus, the Between Worlds coming in and doing mass damage to the entire comp. But the Cassante is a madman onto Ghoul Freak, single-handedly taking out their ADC carry. Their top lane is trying to do. Monarch is here getting zoned away by Toke Life, who is now rushing in. That Aurora having the burst damage to almost one-shot the AC, and Cataclysm now forced to back away, not quite having the damage to fully finish off any single member of Stun Gaming before the team is able to finish the job.
Yeah, I mean, that was just beautiful peel from Stun Gaming. I mean, the CC is really putting in the work there. Because it's very worrying to have an ADC like Zeri and just like a stalwart bruiser like Cassante on the board, and yet they weren't able to have much way in these fights because of the way that Sneaky and Toke Life were zoning them off, and Jarvan just being a wonderful bruiser did some great work there as a team. Stun Gaming widening the gap once more.
That lockdown composition really showing what it can do. Just every single one of these teamfights, Sneaking Xylism are both clicking their ultimates onto the enemy AD carry, and that fight, the Cataclysm locked down the entirety of that skirmish. With the exception of, there's 3 members of that Cataclysm, they really could do nothing, which let the champions like Aurora, like, I mean, Seraphine was dead at the time, but like Seraphine, able to just easily land their AoE combos on the entirety of White Lotus's composition, which is certainly making this game much harder. As you mentioned, 5k gold lead now. It's only Cataclysm now with a gold advantage, and 305 for Xylism, 3k gold up on this Jarvan, and looking like an absolute menace. Very tanky with the health stats on their 2 bruiser items at the moment.
What I'd really like to see in these team fights from Zeri and from Silas is a lot of just target discernment here. We're obviously not going to be able to kill that Jarvan ever because of that Sundered Sky. Zeri just won't really be able to burst that champion down, so we're going to really have to try and prioritize that backline. And with Silas and the way that he stuns, it should be possible, but stun coming out here.
Ooh.
Oh my.
Combo lands on Honeybee, lands the ultimate, but it is not enough. Ghoul Freak forced to flash away. Camille on the flank is able to finish off Honeybee as the Between World lands and splits up and slows the composition of White Lotus. They're diving in, they're trying to finish off Ghoul Freak, but it's just not enough. The Seraphine healing is enough to keep them around from the composition, as it's another 4 for 0 for the side of Stun Gaming.
Wow. And as I was saying, talking about the target discernment there, Silas did try to dive that ADC, but without the Cataclysm, without the Maokai frontline, it was just so hard to be able to get anywhere because of the CC and the peel. It was just too hard, taking too much damage, and nothing really could get done with Silas in the backline all alone.
Yeah, it also
We'll quickly get
didn't
Baron
necessarily...
here.
They do get a Baron, yeah, so that's going to be 8k gold now for Stun Gaming. The gap continues to widen. The game continues to slip out of White Lotus's hands after a dominant early game performance. And it just didn't feel like the right window to fight. At that time, basically every member of Stun Gaming had their second item completed, and on the side of White Lotus, it was Cataclysm and Monarch exclusively. I mean, just the goal advantage at that point really did feel like it's pulling through, right? We're seeing that members of White Lotus, both Cataclysm and Danny, are finding windows onto Ghoul Freak, but they just don't have the damage to take out this AD carry before the rest of their team is able to put up the walls, separate the members, and take the team fights that are turning out so well for them.
Yeah, I mean, that investment in Dark Steel has not proved to be a worthy one, and we're getting Mountain Drake as well, bringing us even in those Drakes. I mean, Stud Gaming is just firmly back in the driver's seat here. And White Lotus is losing their lead here. And it's really honestly disappointing to see, but Aurora, with that burst damage, with that, I believe it's Cinder Bloom online, it's just so oppressive. And the burst damage versus the amount of damage that Silas is able to output is not comparable whatsoever in these team fights. I'm going to see another initiation on to the Ashe here.
Yeah,
and they're just going to walk away.
Yeah, that's a Camille hook shot. You can try and lock down, but unless you're fully committed with your crowd control abilities, they're able to eventually just make their way on out. So that comes at the cost of Nature's Grass. That comes at the cost of the hijack and the lightning crash. So once again, lightning crash being a crucial cooldown. Oh, they're spotted. Enchanted Crystal Arrow into the Hextech Ultimatum. Camille's landing all of the damage. The Q2 is enough to finish him off through Tong is my name on the Milio. So Honeybee is gonna just go down once again, and it's just pick after pick, right? This is what Stun Gaming's composition does best.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like they have no answer to the amount of damage in TC that they're experiencing. Milio ult not being able to do much work. And we have Mikhail's Blessing on the board, though. And a big Cataclysm coming out from Danny. But is it going to be enough to burst this guy out? And another Cataclysm coming out from Xylism. And he's just going to flag out and leave. Okay.
That's incredible. They were so low, I was convinced they were going to go down and they were finally going to catch, but no. They're able to make their way out, which has to just be heartbreak for White Lotus, who are looking for any opportunity to make it back in this game. The Blastcone Fruit able to get Cool Freak out of his potentially sticky spot. They are currently mostly mid for the side of White Lotus, looking for an opportunity to push out this mid wave safely. 3 minutes before either objective, but the Baron buff is still up for Stun Gaming, meaning it is difficult for White Lotus to protect these side lane tier 1s, which they just have one left, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's just devastating work for White Lotus right now. Not able to get any picks, not able to get any sort of shutdown. It's rough. We're just grasping for straws here, it feels like, and we're not coming up with anything quite yet. I mean, it would only take 2 team fights to be able to turn the tides once more, but it's going to be scrappy to get there. I mean, Stun Gaming's going to have to make some big mistakes for White Lotus to be able to capitalize and come back from this.
It's looking difficult. Your biggest damage tools as White Lotus are Silas and Zeri, both of whom are relatively short range and very susceptible to some of the forms of crowd control and peel offered by Stun Gaming. So they're looking for a bit of a pick here. Once again, claiming dominance in the jungle. Enchanted Crystal Arrow thrown out. Does not connect this time. Honeybee, for once, not going to get frozen to their doom. But 2 minutes remaining on these objectives. I can't help but think Stun Gaming is going to play it slow. Let the objectives come to spawn up and force White Lotus to come to them.
Yeah, I mean, White Lotus has to decide between dealing with these waves, because all of these waves are pushing into them. It's either dealing with the waves or contesting these objectives, and it's going to come down to what do we want to do. And personally, I don't think we contest these objectives. I think we really should just play the map and play for these towers and play for that gold rather than risk losing a team fight and also giving objectives and more towers.
It's always tricky when you're in this sort of situation, though. Both objectives will be spawning around at the same time, so you almost have to guess, because you haven't had the space to push in and get vision, which objectives are we looking for. Meanwhile, Hextech Ultimate lands. Good use of the Blast Cone, knocks him out of the ultimate. Tog is running, but this Frost Shot from Ashe is going to lock them down. Nature's Glass fast, but it's not enough. Zeri is able to jump over the wall, but here's Camille jumping in. Sneaky is running after them. The adaptive defense is giving them a massive shield. The damage comes through, flashes away. The super mega kick comes in from Milio to peel a bit. Goes back. Silas goes back in with it. It's gonna duct. There's a teleport coming in from the Toglite here, but it looks like the fight is already over. 1-0. A minute before the dragon spawns. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that White Lotus can contest it, but it certainly means that they cannot walk up until right before that spawns, which is never a good place to be.
Yeah, I mean, definitely all this vision on them. They're going to be aware of them walking up towards contesting this if they choose to. So it's definitely a double-edged sword for White Lotus. And, I mean, plays like this are so interesting because they have vision everywhere. They are watching, waiting, just placed all across this jungle ready to contest them. And I don't know. I'm scared.
I agree. Also, if you look at the icons there, most of the summoners are now down for White Lotus. I can't really see how this was contested. This does feel like it will give them soul point, but it's not soul. This does feel like one you can give. You could try and grab some gold elsewhere on the map, but they are going to look for it nonetheless. They are grouped as a 5-man, which is always a good start. The Dragon is currently being targeted. Toglite on a flank, looking for the Between Worlds as they can jump in. Does not quite yet choose your moments. Danny also on the flank, both middlers positioning for potentially a game-winning ultimate. The hijack is taken. The ultimate. Oh, Camille going in. Flash forward between worlds. Lands on the 3. Big Hexack with middle. Zizania comes out as the Hexack comes in on the other side from Danny lands in. Big, messy melee. A goal for finally goes down to Gasante, but you can't imagine it's enough as the damage continues to pour in. 4 members down now for the side of White Lotus as it remains to be just Cataclysm, able to be picked off at the leisure of Stun Gaming. Quadra kill for Toglite, and it looks like they're going to rush for an end.
I mean, this is exactly what I was afraid of happening here, and I really don't think it was worth it. I mean, that was literally soul point dragon. That wasn't even actual soul point. I feel like we could have given that and looked to play across the map here. And it looks like it's probably going to be an end here. I don't think that anyone's going to come up and be able to, I mean, Honeybee all alone. Poor little support. But they're going to opt to leave this. So, I mean, White Lotus, I believe, has one last team fight, one last chance here before the game is probably over.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think Sneaky committed the teleport there, perhaps a bit hastily, but they shouldn't be overly punished for it. I can understand why when commit Monarch, it was up in a few seconds, the rest of the team was shortly to follow, and there's really no need when you're so far in the driver's seat and you're not really playing against a composition you expect to scale too crazily into yours. Take the Baron. Don't risk the flip, and then they take the Baron, and suddenly the game looks horrible. They're going to sit in a brush and use their lockdown pick comp and try to take out whoever is first to walk up. That's my prediction. And it looks like it's not my name.
Oh my, the pick is
jumped in Cataclysm onto the Malachi. Hexack ultimate at the same time. Big damage from the double solo laners combo, and slowly the jungle versus jungle 1v1 is going to be joined by the rest of Stun Gaming, who now have a 2-member lead on the Rift. So will they go for Baron, or are they just going to push for an end? It looks like it's going to be Baron. The pings are coming out on the map. And they'll just move to the 5, and with the jungler down, it really looks like it's going to be a second Baron for the side of Stun Gaming.
I like this call from Stun Gaming. I mean, we could definitely push to end here, and it's very possible they could have just ended. But this is a safer choice for them for sure. They're playing the macro, they're playing the map, and they're not getting too overzealous, which I really like. They don't want to get too like a shutdown. 1 or 2 shutdowns even could give White Lotus an item that can bring them to another lead. So I like this from them. They're not playing too excited like Jinx would, but you know, things are looking really great for Stun Gaming right now. They'd have to make some really horrible, disgusting mistakes here to bring White Lotus back, and as you see, they're not getting too hasty, and they opted for Baron rather than forcing an end, which shows that they're very disciplined.
Yeah, I like your point, especially because, as you mentioned, the silver lining for either team here is that you will get to... Oh, a bit of engage? No. Is that you will get to go to playoffs regardless. Of course, seeding can matter, but what you want to use this for is... But it does benefit you to say you can get good practice in here. You can show your discipline. You can show that you are respecting your opposition, and you will play the game of League of Legends properly and not give them an unnecessary opportunity to come back in the game without making them really earn it. So definitely going to slowly keep creeping the pressure up. You notice that members like Xylism and Sneaky are positioned over walls quite often to try and look for these jump-on picks these champions are so good at. Really forces White Lotus to play super conservatively. Nice buffer there to try and avoid the CC, but didn't quite work out there. They're going to slowly siege these away with the Baron buff, it looks like.
Yeah, and I'm really scared to see Xylism angling for this Cataclysm. Could happen at any moment here, and it's just going to be a turtle for White Lotus.
Oh, and Chain Crystal Arrow lands on Silas. Here it comes, potentially. Not needing to give him yet. The cleanse does not matter. They are going to go down anyways. Charm in on Malachi. They're going to jump in between worlds. Cataclysm, Hexack Ultimate. You've seen it before. Lightning Crash comes in, but it's too little too late, as Stun Gaming is going to push through the remaining force of White Lotus and look for the end of this first game.
Wow. Even there, they didn't overuse their ultimates, and they just kind of were patient. But Sneaky taking a fab of damage from the Nexus, but that's going to be game 1.
Game 1, yeah.
Wow.
The silver lining, I think, if you're White Lotus here, is you were winning the early game. Now, I think the draft did necessarily put you in a position where it gets tough when you have these lower range members. But regardless of that, you showed that you do have what it takes, especially Cataclysm in the top lane. You have what it takes to create these opportunities. And if you're able to carry that through the mid to late team fights, I believe that you can be competitive in this series.
Yeah, for sure. And we saw just at the end there, I think the difference between that melee mage versus the poke mage coming out really kind of showed the difficulty because I mean, Cassante, Maokai, Silas, and Zeri really just look to play those long range fights, whereas Seraphine, Aurora, and Camille can just really space things out and keep you in arm's length away. And I think that defined a lot of those team fights there. And we're gonna see this damage here. A fat bit of damage from Cassante, but look at that Aurora damage. That's literally what I was talking about before. And seeing it on the graph, it really just puts into perspective how much damage that Aurora was doing despite being down early game.
Yeah, definitely. And something I'd really like to highlight here is just how much the side of Stun Gaming was able to play the team. If you look at the KDAs, you'll see that there was 26 kills, 20 kill participation for Camille, 20 kill participation for Jarvan, 19 for Aurora, 22 for Ashe, and 21 as Seraphine. And nearly all of the kills, 4 or 5 members of the team were involved, which shows that they were really able to take advantage of the synergistic elements of their comp to great effect.
Yeah, they were definitely very coordinated, whereas I feel like from the side of White Lotus, we saw some kind of, I would say, hero plays coming out from Danny. I mean, we had some good moments, but they were kind of, fumbling, able to catch the ball as it was falling. Whereas it was a lot more coordinated from Stun Gaming, and that's exactly what you want to see from a Stunned Gaming composition. So look at these stats here. What do you think?
Oh man, what a dip. Nearly 20k gold lead is not where you want to be, but regardless, that was game 1, but it's it's going to be a long series potentially. It's a best of 3. You can always turn it around. And we'll go straight to it after a short break, so don't go anywhere, and we will go back to game 2 soon.
Can you just stay another night? I can't say no. I can't say no. into the deep end, giving into my feelings, afraid to go on this ride. I'm scared to crash inside. This time I might be speeding. I'm taking it slow, but I just want more. I'm taking it slow, just go with the flow. I'm taking it slow, but I just want more. I'm taking it slow, just go with the flow. I'm taking it slow, my knees on the floor. I'm begging for more. It's you I Blinding lights, lost in your eyes, feeling the pressure. You and I, spending the night, chasing forever. For you, oh no, I'd be your one and only. Don't let me go, don't leave me lonely. Say you'll stay through the pain, say you won't go running. Let me in through your veins, get off on my loving.
Welcome back to week 6 of the Ember Scorch League. We are going to game 2 of the series between Stun Gaming Eclipse and White Lotus Clover after Stun Gaming Eclipse picks up the first win of the series. Do you have a 2-sentence summary of us for game 1?
I mean, I would just like to say, Stunned Gaming were Stunned Gaming, and White Lotus weren't quite able to capitalize on those early picks and early advantages that they had here. We're going to draft here. We're seeing a Mumu ban, and before we talk about draft, I just want to say my favorite thing to see for White Lotus, trying to pick up their first win of the league series is new map, new me. New matchup, new draft. It's fearless, so you won't see any of those disgusting CC champs again. So maybe they can pick up a win this time.
Yeah, new map, new side of the map, side swap here. So Stun Gaming will be taking blue and White Lotus red for the first time in the series. And you're right, those Stun champs are gone. But if there's one constant in league, is there's always more disgusting Stun champions left to play. Though one of them being banned by Stun Gaming themselves with that Amumu, that big Curse of Sand Mummy off the table. We are seeing actually very, very similar drafts, or sorry, not drafts, bans from the first game, for those of whom who have memory long enough to remember it. I think so far actually quite identical coming from both sides, just of course flipped B1, R1 bans. We'll see once again, however, if White Lotus Clover decides to leave the Ari open or not. That was one of my sticking points of the first draft, and it worked out well insofar as the draft was concerned to their favor. They're able to ban it in the second. Oh, there's that Jinx once again. I'll table Varus. Okay, so that's kind of an interesting ban for me because Varus was one of the champions I was thinking White Lotus Clover might have benefited from playing last series. It's a bit immobile, but you have both the range to kind of have a little more protection against the Jarvan Camille type of gameplay, as well as the lockdown to punish a poor engage. So that might be a signal Stun Gaming is planning to play something relatively similar once again, or might not be. It's a lot to derive from a single ban. Caitlyn will be the first pick. How do you feel about Caitlyn?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of classic what we've seen from the bot line earlier. They really like those ranged ADCs, and it's definitely something that's easy to capitalize, especially with Stun Gaming's MO, which is, a lot of bruiser CC types. Caitlyn can just sit in the back line there and fire away.
Yeah, she's really good at synergizing with champions that do have that big lockdown because of the ability of your traps. If you're able to lock them down for long enough, their traps are able to be placed and primed. You just get to keep them rooted for even longer, do more damage. Okay, so one Piltover-based criminal ban for the side of White Lotus, and yet, though hailing from Ionia, spent them time in the City of Progress himself, Jhin will be the prisoner, the bandit, the thief, the criminal to catch for Caitlyn this game.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of one of the picks we were talking about. We'd like to see from White Lotus is a ranged ADC different from that Zerion, we're also seeing that Nocturne come out, really great to capitalize on an overextended bot lane, or mid lane. Squishy mage champs are very delicious. So I'm excited to see what White Lotus can change here, some adjustments to be made in the comp as well as the gameplay. I think they can do it, and we're gonna see a Xin Zhao. So what do we think going into this? Nocturne and Xin Zhao are very different in terms of their purpose in these team fights.
For sure. So with Wukong banned, Stun is now picking away the second of the trifecta of bruiser junglers. Now that Jarvan has been picked away by Xylos in the first game, so that shows to me that they are familiar with the style, and it's worth noting that White Lotus Clover has not been playing the same type of game as their jungler. Oh, that Ahri pick, so not slipping through this time, not going to be able to be banned away that second phase of the draft. But yet Nocturne is a champion that, to me, always feels incredibly feast or famine. I'm not sure if that's actually necessarily true, but it always feels to me that either a Nocturne is able to get ahead and is able to fully jump on someone that can one-shot them, or falls behind, and then they become a little bit more than a glorified vision obscure. However, we did see, as you mentioned, could be a good adaptation. White Lotus Clover did have the advantage the last game, so picking champions like Nocturne, to a lesser extent even Syndra, could be a good way to extend a lead once you acquire in the early laning phase.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think that Syndra is a good answer here to the Ahri. Very similar champions, but I have to say Syndra Burst just does it better, in my opinion. Ahri definitely has to work around the minion wave to land those stuns, whereas Syndra really doesn't have to worry about that. And we're seeing a Malphite ban, which I really like. Not sure what White Lotus has in mind for the top lane, but Malphite is just one of those champions that, again, is Stunned Gaming's favorite kind of champion, as well as it's able to deal with that Syndra burst. And Nocturne really has no way to deal with a champion like Malphite.
Not only that, but when I'm looking at Cataclysm composition, they play primarily AD champions, and when you already have a Jhin and Nocturne locked in, that is a lot of attack damage that can be completely negated by a full armor Malphite. A Scion, similarly, this to me thinks they are looking to play something, some sort of fighter, like a Riven, a Fiora, one of the, well, perhaps not Fiora necessarily if you're banning Scion, but one of these champions that Jax Renekton, one of these champions that can really get ahead top lane. And once again, I really don't mind the adaptation so far from the draft of White Lotus. Cataclysm was incredibly devastating last game, both on the side of Stun Gaming with the Jarvan and the side of White Lotus with their top laner. So I'm not against a drafting, giving them that counter pick, and really seeing if they can break the game open. It is, however, worth noting that White Lotus's competition is looking relatively squishy. Ooh.
I love this Zyra pick. I have to say it. I mean, this is exactly what I was saying while we were in the waiting room for this next match. I was like, I really would have liked to see a Zyra support, and they're gonna pull it out just for me. I feel like, I don't know, maybe they were listening in on our conversation here. So they're pulling out the Zyra support. Alistar going to be the answer from Stunned Gaming. Again, just the CC lock of doom here. But the nice thing about Alistar is that outside of his CC, he doesn't do much damage.
Yeah, and it's worth knowing that last game, Stun Gaming's bot lane had an incredibly synergistic duo in the Ashe Seraphine. Caitlyn and Alistar not exactly known for that same level of ubiquitous duo potential. Caitlyn being very long range and liking to be such a big lane bully. Alistar, he can all in or he can disengage, and Caitlyn doesn't necessarily fit the ticket on either of those bills. So we'll see. But Aatrox is picked, so I
feel like they're listening in on our conversations here
you
because
did
we were
mention that.
also just talking about Aatrox
But
as well.
that wasn't Aatrox for White Lotus. A bit of a
No.
place. Oh, Irelia. Okay, this is gonna be a fun top lane to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this Alistar pick was maybe a little bit overzealous because I feel as though Jhin, Zyra, that synergy, it's just so easy to punish an Alistar. So I feel like Alistar won't be able to get away with as much, push and shove that he likes to. Because Zyra has that root on top of the Jhin synergistic second root combination. Caitlyn's not going to be able to capitalize off of Alistar CC as much, and we're hopping in the Rift here. Super cinematic. It's almost like we're in the Rift ourselves. And what would you do if you woke up one day and you woke up in the bushes of mid lane?
Well, I always say that it feels like I'm getting to see life from the perspective of a scuttle crab. So that's what I do. I live my best life. I'd be a scuttle crab. I'd mosey around. I'd eat some fruit, and then I get completely one shot by some major melee fighter coming in and ruining my day.
Dude,
That
I'd love
being
to be Gromp.
Gromp. Which form? Small Gromp or big Gromp?
It's gotta be Big Gromp.
It's gotta be big Gromp. Okay, yeah. So we're getting to Lane. Yeah, going to what you're saying previously. Yeah, like, on paper, Jin Zyra I feel should really have Alistair's number here, but it's worth noting that Alistair is a champion that if you miss position once can just kill you. Like especially in early on the game, Kaelin has, if you're level 2, Kaelin has the Piltover Peacemaker and the Yordle Snap Trap, and that can be enough to kill someone. So, theory be damned sometimes. A proper combo can change many a course of history. First Piltover Peacemaker lands on both, that's auspicious. Force Shot, however, does always trade back quite well. So expect a decent amount of fighting coming in from this bot lane, at the very least early. Ghoulfree can gain some good poking, considering they really should not be able to with a melee support. Likewise, especially once you get to that level 3, level 6 marks, sneaking Cataclysm should be going out like crazy. Once again, a solo laner of White Lotus taking the Ignite, this time is in the top lane.
I mean, mid lane is definitely going to be a skill matchup. Oh, what a flash having to be forced there. Honeybee investing early might not be punished if they don't force any... They don't force the issue early game. Honeybee will just have blown that for... no punishment, but that is okay. Mid lane, I feel as though, is going to be a skill check for these mages, very similar. So it will be all about cooldown management, mana management, really hitting those cooldowns. A good stun coming in. Cataclysm, I think, is going to be able to bully Aatrox early, but at some point after those first items, Aatrox becomes unkillable, in my opinion.
So, for sure. I'm worried, however, about the insectile duo of White Lotus's bot lane here, because this isn't how this lane should be looking. When you're playing double range into a melee support, you your strongest point in the game is level 1. You should not allow the enemy AD carry to farm evenly, which they have been, and you should not allow Talt to make it through without getting punished. If a melee supporter is able to get to this level 3 point at full HP like they are now, it makes it very easy for them to look for that engaged play and punish your champion's relative lack of mobility. And by relative, I mean total, right? Zyra and Jin don't have a single movement tool between the two of them. So very scary. Deadly First does not quite connect. Tolt is looking for your classic headbutt pulverize combo, but it is not coming to fruition. There is a ward down for the side of White Lotus, which makes it a little bit more difficult to play out. But gank opportunity comes in. Here's Tog. The Twin Blaze does not connect. Here does come Nocturne with the Asp Paranoia, not quite online, but there is an Ignite burn. They're looking for the dive. First blood to Cataclysm through a tumultuous fight. However,
but a gank at the bot lane as well. Gonna get two? Yep,
double
that's a
kill
double kill for bot lane. Wow.
And Ghoulfree will go down over to the dragon, but you have to think that's worth it. Tolt gonna do their best. They're paying assistance. They're saying, hey, Xyla, I need you still here. I can't push it out myself. But they're gonna do the nice thing and reset the way for their AD carry. Yep, here comes the jungler to get one farm after all that. Great wave state for Stun Gaming's bot lane, and yeah, I mean, it looks on paper, the draft looks good, but 2-1 Caitlyn can change a lot of story. That's a BF sword already.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not loving how strong Caitlyn and Alistar are looking right now. I want Honeybee to activate here. Playing an Enchanter is a little bit different than playing a Mage here, and Zyra's job is just to zone. Get those plants up, and sometimes it's just sitting in the bushes and having bush control and the possibility of hitting those roots there. That poke is integral for giving Jin the space to just farm and hit, but Caitlyn's been able to capitalize and get some good poke off in these trades. A good set coming in mid lane, but Cataclysm going again for maybe another sneaky pick onto Sneaky. A lot of good damage. Sneaky not being able to answer anything. Nothing is hitting except for that one airborne, but a tower shot gonna chunk out a little bit.
For their approach. Yeah, you saw them look for it. Could I dive here? They now have the level 6. They now, or not quite, but they're soon to be the level 6. They're soon to have that Vanguard's Edge. But without that opportunity, that tool, and with Flash Shield and Sneaky, Cataclysm decides not to go in. But you can see how much damage Irelia is able to pull off when she has that Ionian Fervor passive fully stacked. That is, of course, any top laner will tell you, the visual signal of whether or not you should be fighting Irelia. it's just not much you can do without it, especially when they have that Vamp Scepter and you're stuck on 3 long swords. I don't think you had 3 at the point. First dragon in the game spawning, however. Again, Ghoul Freak is the point of power now. BF Sword, an edge up. Both mid laners on the Lost Chapter by, meaning that they should just be about matching each other. Though with Ahri's ultimate, you always have the Spirit Rush mobility boost to look for an early roam, which is what they look like they will be doing. Pings coming in on Dragon. Pings coming in saying, Ahri's not here, you guys have to watch out. This is exactly what Ahri likes to do. And we'll see if White Lotus's bot lane is unduly punished. It looks like a bit of a slow contest. Tog is moving towards this dragon, but no ultimate on the Nocturne. It means they don't have any way to quickly get into this pit. The health bar on the dragon lowing down 3,000 now. Spotted, but here's Tult able to knock them away without properly timing Nocturne's spell shield. You just will get completely knocked away from the pit and guarantee a dragon. Oh, engage onto the bot lane. Here's Ghoul Freak looking with the headshot passive. Just completely demolishing Honeybee. Forced to flash away. The Jin Zhao running in. 3 talent strike landing, going to knock up Tog. It's going to have to flash over the wall, and it's going to be 2 kills, 3 kills perhaps. Tog flashing forward. The spell shield barely keeping Tog alive, meaning just 2 kills and a dragon over for the first skirmish of the game.
And a free blue buff. That's going to be detrimental.
That's what really matters most. I mean, the mental damage alone can really cause a whole team to collapse. Cataclysm looking again for that opportunity to extend their lead, goes in with the flash out actually, never mind. And here comes Aatrox, the World Ender popped. Ignite Burn, they're going in with this Blade Dancing. They're trying to heal up. They have enemy for fully stacked, but it's not enough. The Darkened Blade slams down, and it brings an end to the Ionian warrior.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a very rough trade. I mean, just going into that, I knew that was not the best trade for Cataclysm, and it proved to be easily punished by Sneaky there. White Lotus really not playing what I would say is League of Legends back row, in the sense that we don't see them pushing waves to get prio. We aren't seeing the mid lane roaming as much as we have seen from Stunned Gaming, and it's kind of costing them there. And going for that drag contest so late, they weren't able to really set up for that.
Here comes Nocturne jumping in onto Ghoul Freak. The curtain's called, is missing with the shot. The 4th shot, the one that matters most, does land.
Nice.
Trading back the kill that was taken away from him earlier on. It means 1 kill to the White Lotus AD carry.
Yeah, but we're seeing Alistar in the mid lane.
Fully
Oh my.
stacked. Vanguard's Edge prop. Ionian Fervor fully stacked. It should be trade back, but Nihilism, Defiant Dance, does not quite land on Sneaky, flashing away. And here's Nihilism looking to finish off the job. Defiant Stance doing this best to move them around, but the 3-time strike, what's it called exactly? The Xin Zhao ultimate is able to do enough, and with the mark on Cataclysm, is able to just lock them in, do the damage, and finish the job.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely
grubs, right?
Yeah, for sure. That was just a tragic play for Cataclysm. Almost got that kill on the Sneaky, but just wasn't quite there, and Xylogen was there to back it up. And Tult here was in the mid lane, just kind of bullying Danny there, and it's gonna guarantee that Void Grubs. I mean, support doing their job there, being able to roam. Caitlyn being able to solo lane as she does. Giving Stunned Gaming a lot of agency to move across the board.
You mentioned a tragedy, and I really want to highlight that, because if last games teach us anything, Cataclysm is the window for White Lotus to get into these games, and you saw how close it was. But these crucial deaths before the room complete. Oh, and as I say this, they were able to full combo. Zyrogen showing their potential, 2v1 locking down Ghoul Freak and punishing them for playing 1v2 with their support roaming to cover that grubs play. You saw the Deadly Flourish. You saw the Zyra's ability to fully lock a target down, and the damage is certainly quite potent now. And that's just with a steel plated or steel boots of all things. Steel plate boots, old ninja tabbies as I'm used to calling them. But meanwhile, told me to try to return the favor. Nocturne is here to try and make it a 2v2, but Danny is low health. However, they're able to make it out with the nearsightedness effect from the paranoia, allowing them to escape. Here's Honeybee a little bit too late, and you see as well Xylism was in the area, but okay.
Cataclysm was
Tragedy
on
be damned.
top, though.
Once again, we see heavy fighting top lane. Neither top lane is able or willing to back down a single iota, and this time it goes in the favor of Cataclysm. 2-2-1 to 2-2. 500 gold lead, however, for Cataclysm. I'm not sure how that quite happened. I guess that's what a 20 CS lead will do for you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess CS is integral to maintaining a good lead, and Cataclysm, you know, despite losing some of those scruffy fights, I mean, I guess like that's what you need. And Honeybee doing a great job as support. I maybe said my criticisms too soon. Definitely has been a integral part to getting some of these picks in the bot lane, and I mean, some good cross map ups from Nocturne, really sealing the deal for White Lotus to have a little bit of a gold lead, just a tad. Fingers crossed.
10 seconds up before the second drink of the game, and it's worth noting that Cataclysm now has Blade of Rune King. Irelia is a complete different champion with this item. It synergizes so well for them, and you'll see them with Iron for a stack, just going straight in, no fear. There's absolutely nothing Steaky can really do at this juncture. They have a Executioner's Blade, but they do not have their own first item. So as a result, Cataclysm now gets to run the map. Even in the 1v2 right now, they might honestly be able to take it. That's how strong Irelia can be. Deadly Flourish does land on Xylism, however, so Cataclysm has the knowledge to know that there will be no 1v2. However, this is space taken for the second dragon.
Yeah, I mean, the beautiful
On
thing
this top
is that
side.
they've just been setting up for these drags really well, Stun Gaming has. And, I mean, an ult top side to secure another kill on this Sneaky. So that's a death. That's 1-for-1 for Stun Gaming, and also an Ocean Drake as well. I don't know if that was the play.
Yeah, I mean, I do respect a good cross map, and I think that could have definitely been worth it had Cataclysm gone away with their life throughout or unscathed there, because if they were to get the kill, they're able to shove the wave, grab a player or two, and suddenly that is a significant gold advantage, as opposed to what it is currently, which is a 1-for-1, relatively gold even trade, and that dragon going over to Stun Gaming, definitely not what you want there. However, I love the fact that Nocturne popping that global paranoia means that you did notice Stun Gaming was going, okay, Nocturne's about to jump on this.
Let's take a step back. Yeah.
They're ready for it. You have to explain the comms. You went Sneaky said, it's on me, right? That's it. All that info you got.
Yeah, I mean, that's also a testament to, you know, those team comms that you don't really have in ranked, that you do have in these organized team plays, and also just the way that we have lost 2 drags. We're down 2 drags as White Lotus, so we're gonna have to pick up and prioritize a new objective, because we also didn't get those Void Grubs. So I'm asking myself, Nocturne, you've got some great assists, but where are our objectives at this point?
Yeah, also it's worth noting that Nocturne picked up Profane Hydra first, so they're going for a little bit more of an assassin build than the sort of like bruisery build you see some Nocturne players like to go. So that's worth keeping in mind if you are a Swishier member of Stun Gaming, but it's also worth keeping in mind that Nocturne cannot be that effective at frontline in a composition that currently looks like they kind of need one. Currently, Irelia is your tankiest member, and with Irelia's tendency to want a side lane, it becomes a little bit harder to see exactly how these team fights are going to be positioned for the side of White Lotus. Really, I suppose you have your Zyra, right? They have the Riles complete. You have your Grasping Roots. You have your Stranglethorn, and these big area of control tools might be enough. Oh, okay, going in with the Blade and going right over the Blade Surge. Nice little trade. Did not want any more piece of that. The Umbral Chains, scaring them off. But Tog is once again hovering Cataclysm. It does look like White Lotus has decided this is the way to win. Vanguard's Edge does land, Blade Surge goes in. Here's the Paranoia, and here as well is the Crescent Guard landing through, but it's not enough. 1-for-1 so far, but it's an Irelia being chased down by the Ahri and the Xin Zhao. The current's called not enough support, as the mid laner's advanced mobility is able to rotate them there, as it's Danny who's forced to match Ghoul Freaking Tolt, and they could get Dove here. Yeah, look, they're positioning for it. Here, Ghoul Freaking Tolt know exactly where every member of White Lotus is, so they know they're free to take the 2v1, and Danny does have to respect it.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the lane swap until I didn't there. Danny not really able to deal with a tanky bruiser like Alistar. You know, there's not much burst damage you can do there, and the bot lane transition from mid to top just wasn't enough to deal with the fight.
But Pulverized
my.
Deadly Force does land, which mostly just looks like it's going to dissuade. Yeah, so Danny with the ultimate there, but Alistar's own ultimate able to cut the damage in half and not able to get that execute that you expect Danny was looking for there. Yeah, back to the replay. Right now we see once again Stun Gaming is able to secure the next objective. And yeah, like you're saying, with that lane rotation that did leave Toke the ability to I suppose the ability to rotate up and change the course of that fight. In the isolated 2v2, Cataclysm may have been able to pull out of the hat, but the addition of the mid laner is certainly not the case.
Yeah, for sure. Honeybee being half HP here with Alistar back on lane, we're gonna have to probably take it back here. Things are getting shifty, and they opted for that lane to swap right back, and I'm okay with that. We might have been a little bit overzealous with that one, but we're really looking to pick up a drag here. So I'm really looking for White Lotus here to push these waves to pressure mid lane and top lane.
Unblock is landing. Honorable chains with the it's just gonna be back out. They're too close to the tower. There's no minions to get fully stacked on. You're gonna walk away. Yeah. So 30 seconds for the next dragon, and objectives have been going entirely away Stun Gaming. But if you look at the goal, it's actually dead even still. White Lotus very much do have the opportunity to take a good team fight. The AD carries are dead even in item more or less. The only exception being their boots are different. And across the board as well, it's very even. Really, the only significant goal difference is up here in the top lane, where Cataclysm is looking to get another kill on Sneaky, able to dodge through the first Darkened Blade, having to forcing Sneaky to pop the World Ender and the third Darkened Blade. It's not enough exactly as able to go in, but a bit of disrespect perhaps. Oh, it does have the Flawless Duet there to run away with their life, but they underestimated the Darken passive of Aatrox coming back up and letting them get that Darkened stance, healing all the way back up to full almost, it feels like, especially with that World Ender passive. Actives means the tower dive goes neutrally. This does, however, set up White Lotus to take their first neutral objective of the game, which will be responded to with perhaps a Herald drop as they look to take out the first tower of the game as the trade. Which, fair enough, honestly.
I mean, just beautiful macro work from Stun Gaming, but
Paranoia calls lands, but they're not on the right target. Then Alistar's able to headbutt Talk underneath the tower. The Stranglethorn lands on both the bot lane members, but here's Xin Zhao with the 3 talent strike, able to knock up Honeybee. They're able to keep looking for more. Wolfreak is in the backline, fully able to fire down on both of them, and it ends up being a 3-for-1. However, worth noting that ends up being a 3-for-2 across the map, as Cataclysm does win against Sneaky and Isolated 1-for-1 once again.
Just beautiful macro work from Stun Gaming. White Lotus really trying to make some plays, but Cataclysm might get punched here by Xylism for this push.
No ultimate on Xylism. The Flawless Duet is being procced. A snipe acing the hole from Caitlyn lands, does a little bit of damage. Cataclysm does have the full stack of prefer. They have the Blade of the Ruined King, but the smite comes in. It's not enough to take out against, or to win against the double auto attackers here of Stun Gaming. But certainly a valiant effort. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like the rest of their composition was out on the map in order to take advantage of this overloading of the top lane from Stun Gaming.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that Stun Gaming here, despite them losing some of these micro plays, they are just playing the map so well and pressuring different lanes and responding to Aurelia's pressure, not allowing her to split push unchecked.
I would just like to point out, I'm pretty sure Xylism hasn't died once this series. I think they went unkilled on the Jarvan game.
Yeah, it might be a Xylism masterclass in this series.
Yeah, they were the one who got the steal that felt like it really fully shifted the momentum around that first game. So we'll see if they're able to maintain the pressure in this second game. 2 and a bit items. Looks like they're going for the Guardian Angel third, I believe.
Yes. Shoot.
I'm trying to think what else Longsword and armor builds into, or BF Sword rather, and armor builds into. Yeah, that gold lead that we're talking about being dead even is now 3.5k gold in the favor of Stun Gaming. Skazlin looks it's very hard to take these 1v1s. Able to channel through the Emerald Chains there with the Defiant Dance, but it is just going to be another trade and then walk away. It feels like they constantly respect the fact that Xylism could be there, as they so often have been in the past. Currently, Baron is up. 2 minutes till Dragon. A lot of vision on the top side from both teams. It definitely looks like that's it reads to me more like they're trying to be wary of a sneak from the other team than necessarily looking for it themselves. But potential catch here. Xylism looking for camps, not really going to find any. 3k gold lead almost on. That's on. So basically, 3 of the 3.5k gold lead is Xylism. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, White Lotus really needs to look for a tower here. Another trade coming out top lane. Blade Dance coming out.
Gold Ender. Going back in, here's the Paranoid trying to finish up the job. However, a good flash away from Sneaky does mean they avoid dying, even with the ultimate. The Darkened Stance triggering once again. Cataclysm able to find it. It wasn't enough. They went back in. Perhaps going in a bit too far near sight is still from the Nocturne ultimate, meaning that with the Omniferous stack still fully online, Cataclysm able to Blade Surge in and finish off the job. And this time, the 2-for-1 did not end up being a 1-for-1, so Cataclysm is able to take out that tower mere moments before the mid lane tier 2 falls for the side of White Lotus.
I mean, the tier 2 in mid lane falls as well as the bot lane.
Everything.
Yeah, just bot lane just getting decimated as top lane gets their wins. So we're seeing a lot of different map plays here. We got a good push top lane. We got our first turret. But at the same time, we had to trade a lot for that. And we'll see if that is worth it in the end as more objectives spawn. We'll see how Stunned Gaming responds. I mean, mid lane turret looking pretty low. So I feel as though we have to choose between another turret or an objective here. And at this moment, it's looking like a dragon would be nice for White Lotus here.
Dragon would definitely be nice. Crucial goal completion differences are one up for Irelia over Aatrox and one up for Caitlyn over Jhin. With a 3k gold lead, actually, Xylim is still not quite on that third item spike with the Guardian Angel completed, so that's what Grasping Root goes out. Curtain Call, Paranoia, big landing Crescent Guard comes out to try and knock it up. Here comes the Stranglethorn, knocks up 2, but the Crescent Guard is able to keep Xylism at full HP as the full dive in from Aurelia. Vanguard's Edge lands, so does the Central Ultimate landing on Ghoul Freak, but it's not enough, and Ghoul Freak is now able to fully walk back in the back of the fight. Ace and Hole lands as the entire team is decimating Cataclysm in what it looks like a repeat of game 1. Cataclysm, last man standing, falling, surrounded on all sides by the member of Stun Gaming.
Wow, I mean, just a dominant team fight there. I have to say, everything was well played. And I have to say that while we liked the Jhin ult for spacing and Jhin staying backwards, the time it took for him to walk back up after Curtain Call was just too much. And the entire team was pretty much dead by the time he was back in the fight.
Not to mention, a Zyra's Strangleforms on 2 is great. When the 2 members you land on is an Alistar with ultimate available and or perhaps not, but an Alistar nonetheless, and a Xin Zhao who has Crescent Guard up. You're not getting anything off that. By the time you're actually able to do anything meaningful, they've already landed back on the ground, and you're back at a fight without that crucial ultimate. However, it looks like they're still going to try and contest this dragon. Cataclysm TPing on the map, as both members are actually looking for a bit of repeat. They might try and burst this down before Stun Game is able to get there, but they are going to be able to, walking through the traps set by the bot lane. But here's Talt looking in. Xylism is engaging upon the dragon, make sure it doesn't reset. Paranoia comes through once again. It's already back up because of that ultimate resetting
Oh, what a dive.
item. Crescent Guard lands on to that same dive and is one shot, courtesy of the lethality items. Cataclysm once again in the midst of the entirety of Stun Gaming gets taken out, and it's a full retreat from the ranged members of White Lotus, trying to avoid getting wiped once again, and they looks like they will successfully, but at the cost of giving Soul Point Dragon over to Stun Gaming.
Yeah, I mean, just another rough team fight. Just like some questionable positioning from White Lotus, getting easily punished there, and honestly very readable. They knew they wanted that dragon pretty badly, and we weren't really positioned well for it there. And I mean, Cataclysm diving in there was a good idea. I mean, Nocturne also going for that pick on the ADC just was able to be peeled so well by Stun Gaming, and we're gonna see an interesting kind of skirmish in the mid, but nothing's gonna come from it, of course. But yeah, I mean, another rough team fight for the side of White Lotus.
Definitely has felt like that's been the story of the series thus far. I don't feel necessarily like White Lotus is inherently getting outclassed in the 1v1s or department or the 2v2s or anything of that matter. It does definitely feel, however, when the chips are laid down, when it's a 5v5 team fight, it always seems to go the way of Stun Gaming. Last game, I think you could attribute a decent chunk of this to composition, but this game, I think you have no such excuse. I actually think that White Lotus's draft is completely fine. I think in this case, you have to think about how do we execute on our draft conditions in order to work around the win conditions of the opposition. In this case, we have tools like the Crescent Guard, the Aatrox's rolled under Dark Stance, all the healing on that champion functionally, and an Alistar with a cooldown that functionally halves the damage they take. When you have all these tanky tools, you need to be incredibly careful that you don't waste your bursty options on Syndra's Unleashed Power, Nocturne's Paranoia, Zyra's Stranglethorns. When tools like this get burnt on healthy targets with these defensive abilities, you just don't get much done, and then they just kind of run at you.
Yeah, I mean,
speaking of which, goes
insane.
in. Wind Becomes Lightning, lands and does enough damage to basically one-shot Honeybee. And you look at that. Look at the damage that Monarch was able to deal in return to the support of Stun Gaming. Practically nothing, as I look to siege this tier 3. Turns call, lands. Paranoia is up, but Cataclysm does not seem to find the angle. Not going to commit that Vanguard's Edge just yet. Dashing in, dashing out. But not Duskbringer connects, but...
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the Paranoia Curtain Call combo is the take. I truly do not like it at all. Cataclysm gonna go in and get punished
caught up
immediately.
And you can't help but think that that's the fight already over for the side of Stun Gaming. As an Aatrox is running directly at them, you have your resets. You have, on both Aatrox and RA, double resets. You get the 1 kill, especially on a member as strong as Cataclysm, and you just get to waltz right in and completely tear open their Nexus base.
Yeah, I mean, some textbook work from Stun Gaming there. Being able to work in tandem and tower dive there was beautiful, and that's just gonna be game, it looks like.
Yeah,
Honeybee just can't do anything about this. Wow.
Oh, to beat a support. What are you supposed to do? It is going to be a 2-0 for Stun Gaming. Yeah, I mean, that was tough. 13.5k gold lead, not as severe as last time, but that in itself is an indicator that is not necessarily the series you want to take if you're White Lotus.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the board here, 25 kills, 47 assists in total. Just, it definitely feels bad because in the early game, in these micro plays, White Lotus was doing well. I mean, there really wasn't much that I could hate on this, except for some of those bot lane skirmishes not going quite the way. And I mean, top lane being top lane, just perma fighting, like that was fine, I guess. I mean, White Lotus wasn't doing too badly, but when we got to this mid and late game, things just fell apart.
Also, I think Xylism had a perfect series. I don't think they died once. I'm fairly certain that they made it through game 1 deathless. And though close calls, you recall on Jarvan, there was that one opportune moment around the top lane tier 2 where it looked like they were surely going to die, but they always made it out. Which just, incredible series there, regardless, even if they did end up dying once or twice, and I didn't notice in the first game. They certainly felt like they were a commanding presence in this game. And yeah, definitely not quite as impressive across the board KDA or kill participation stats from compared to game 1, but yeah, it definitely felt like when it came down to it, Stun Gaming would have performed better as a team. But for White Lotus, I mean, you've got 1 week left to try and find a series win before you're in the playoffs, and regardless, once you get to playoffs, you're only ever a few series away from coming away with a miracle run, right? So
yeah, I mean, and I think they did some really great stuff. I mean, I think that mainly their issue here was that jungle macro. We had some okay ganks from the Nocturne, but at one point we did just completely give up a dragon to dive top lane that I don't think was really necessary. It's like a pretty even top lane during that point. It didn't seem like Aurelia needed that help, but they invested it anyway, and Aurelia ended up falling, and it just wasn't a great play. We're going to see here 29k damage from Aurelia, really putting in the work, and 18k damage from the Syndra as well. Across the board, things look okay from White Lotus here. It doesn't seem like they were at a deficit in terms of damage or participation, perhaps, but just in the end, we were always down on objectives, and that is kind of what, gives them buffs, gives them advantages, and we were always down towers as well. So wave management, um, I don't
Yeah,
know.
certainly in terms of gold. In both games, there was this point in the mid game where the game just fell out of White hands or White Lotus's hands, and in fact, it looks further along in this graph, but that's because it was last game was longer. In both games, it was around the same mark, around that um, third dragon spawn. Around the third dragon spawn, things started to go poorly for the side of White Lotus. So, but you know what? That's what I'm saying is you're a team that's at the bottom of the standings, but I've seen worse teams at the bottom of the standings. There are signs of life here. They have clear points of failure, but that's got a silver lining. That means you have clear things you can work on, and if you improve those points, you can look to start converting to series one or series wins. So yeah, definitely hope to see this team rally someone. For the side of Stun Gaming, I'm sure they'll be happy to get their third win, bring them to 3-2 overall, including a not including a bye week, which does put them solidly in that top four teams of the league, which will be great for them, great for morale. Good to put them in that upper echelon of the seeding as well, so that they don't have to go up against some of the top contenders in the first round of playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a consolation for White Lotus that they still are able to show what they can do in playoffs, so they're not out of the bid quite yet. And I mean, playing these teams, it gives them an idea of what to, adjust and work on before playoffs to really show they're adapting and changing to deal with these issues. But I mean, across the board, Stun Gaming was just so impressive in terms of their team fighting as well as their map plays. They were always pushing those waves. They weren't neglecting, those turrets. And I don't think that they were caught out and, picked out ever. And I think that's one of the things that you see a lot from these teams is oftentimes you can neglect wave management and neglect pushing those waves, and you're always angling for picks and you're angling for these team fights that you forget that, yeah, you're supposed to clear waves and go for towers to win the game. But no, we didn't see that from Stun Gaming. And I mean, when they were organizing for these team fights, they were organizing, and we saw some really great TPs come in, which meant that they were prioritizing, pushing waves, and then they were like, okay, when the team fight starts happening, I'll TP in. So a lot of cooldown management as well. Just overall, a very solid team, in my opinion.
Yeah, always have to remember to cross your I's, dot your T's, and eat your vegetables. And with that, thank you for watching. We have more games here at the same time, Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. I'm Kai. It's my co-host, Relucent, and we have the fantastic Raven on producing. And yeah, bye.
Have a good night.